The United States has crossed a point of no return. Donald Trump just confirmed that American B-2 stealth bombers executed strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, in Natanz, Fordow, and Arak. These weren't surgical operations. They were demolitions using 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs designed to collapse entire underground complexes. This has nothing to do with national defense. This is Washington becoming Benjamin Netanyahu's private air force. Remember that US intelligence assessment released just last week? It confirmed Iran's nuclear program remained entirely civilian. No weapons development, no enrichment beyond peaceful thresholds. These strikes constitute a war crime under international law, the deliberate destruction of safeguarded nuclear infrastructure. By dragging America into this conflict, he forces Iran to retaliate asymmetrically, and Tehran holds the ultimate economic dagger, the Strait of Hormuz. That narrow passage between Iran and Oman isn't just another shipping lane, it's the artery of global energy, with 21 million barrels of oil transiting daily. That's 1/3 of the world's seaborne oil. If Iran mines those waters or sinks a tanker, the shockwave will hit Europe first and hardest. Europe's energy nightmare is already materializing. Brent crude surged 18% overnight on strike rumours, but a Hormuz closure, that means $300 plus barrels. Germany's industrial base would shudder, French refineries would idle, Britain's inflation crisis would explode. Now also every American base in the Middle East is a target. Al-Tanf in Syria, where special forces operate, Erbil Air Base in Iraq, housing thousands. The USS Eisenhower carrier group in the Red Sea. These installations will absorb Iran's retaliation because Trump chose Guam over Diego Garcia, intentionally positioning US soldiers as shock absorbers for Israeli aggression. When missiles start hitting these bases in the coming days, understand the calculus. Netanyahu needed American casualties to reframe this conflict. Dead US troops become his propaganda tool to bury the ICJ genocide case against him. Gaza's mass graves get replaced by new headlines.
Last night on President Trump's orders, U.S. Central Command conducted a precision strike in the middle of the night against 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, in order to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program. And as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs will demonstrate, it was an incredible and overwhelming success. The order we received from our commander-in-chief was focused, it was powerful, and it was clear. We devastated the Iranian nuclear program. But it's worth noting the operation did not target Iranian troops or the Iranian people. For the entirety of his time in office, President Trump has consistently stated for over 10 years that Iran must not get a nuclear weapon. Full stop. Thanks to President Trump's bold and visionary leadership and his commitment to peace through strength, Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated. Many presidents have dreamed of delivering the final blow to Iran's nuclear program, and none could until President Trump.
Part of a plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa. The main strike package, comprised of 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, each with 2 crew members, proceeded quietly to the east with minimal communications. Throughout the 18-hour flight into the target area, the aircraft completed multiple in-flight refuelings. Once over land, the B-2s linked up with escort and support aircraft in a complex, tightly timed maneuver requiring exact synchronization across multiple platforms in a narrow piece of airspace, all done with minimal communications. This type of integration is exactly what our joint force does better than anyone else in the world.
This is Iraq's WMD lies, resurrected with stealth technology. The same think tank operatives who sold the 2003 invasion now appear on news channels claiming Iran won't retaliate. One even argued on British television that bunker-busting nuclear sites wouldn't trigger regional war. Such delusion serves apartheid logic. Only Israeli lives merit protection. Only Israeli security justifies violence. Meanwhile, US troops in Ain al-Assad base prepare for what's coming. Ballistic missiles that Iron Dome can't intercept, drone swarms that overwhelm Patriot systems, and Hezbollah's precision rockets supplied by Iran specifically for this scenario. The diplomatic betrayal is profound. Just 72 hours before these strikes, American and Iranian diplomats were finalizing sanctions relief agreements in Oman. Those talks weren't just promising, they represented the closest we've come to nuclear normalization in a decade. Netanyahu personally ordered their sabotage. His Mossad director even boasted to Knesset allies about clearing the chessboard for confrontation. Why? Because détente threatens Israel's regional monopoly on violence. Because peaceful Iran exposes the lie that Gaza's annihilation was necessary for security. Mission accomplished. Now witness the vassal state in action. US politicians who receive millions from AIPAC will call Iranian retaliation unprovoked aggression. Media pundits will omit that Congress never authorized this attack. The same outlets that spent months justifying Gaza's genocide will now frame dead American soldiers as victims of Iranian terrorism rather than casualties of Netanyahu's desperation. Remember Tulsi Gabbard's warning when Trump assassinated Soleimani. This act of war pushes us into an endless quagmire. She was denounced as radical. History proved her right. When the first casualty reports come in from Al-Tanf, when families receive folded flags instead of their loved ones, confront the unbearable truth. Those soldiers died for an indicted war criminal's immunity. They died because the Israeli lobby owns Washington more completely than any foreign power in modern history. They died so Netanyahu could escape justice for murdering over 15,000 Palestinian children. The moral reckoning is unavoidable. How many American lives must be sacrificed before we sever this toxic alliance? How many flag-draped coffins will it take to admit we've become human shields for apartheid? This catastrophe was avoidable. This bloodshed serves no American interest. It only preserves one man's freedom from handcuffs at The Hague. When silence becomes complicity, speaking truth becomes revolutionary. Gaza taught us that lesson. Now the entire Middle East will reinforce it with fire.